Hello everyone and welcome to Quality Old Games. Today we are having another tier list, namely that of Gothic unit roster in Rome Total War Barbarian Invasion, and this tier list is made in campaign setting, so not only the unit stats affect it, but also how easy it's to get them, how easy it's to replenish the units and so on. So that's the perspective, and without further ado, let's begin with cavalry units. First we have Alan horse archers. They are kind of the elite horse archer unit of Goths. They require tier 4 city and they are a bit more expensive than the basic Gothic horse archers or Goth horse archers. The difference in their battle statistics is that these guys have a bit better armor and they can fight in melee a bit better. So the upgrades are not really that significant, since usually you don't want missile cavalry to fight in melee. And since these basic Goth horse archers can be recruited from tier 3 cities, I think that puts them into S tier, while these elite versions are only in A tier, because the missile attack for both of these units and the range is the same. Then we have the basic Gothic cavalry unit, Goth Lancer. They require tier 2 city. They have really nice charge bonus, but otherwise they are rather weak in melee, so you need to utilize cavalry cycle very much to get some results out of these units. And since they are light cavalry, they really cannot take on heavy cavalry, so the usage is a bit limited. Of course, it's nice that you can get these guys from tier 2 city, from the basic stable building and so on, so that's nice. But I think the micro requirements for these units is a bit too much for my liking, so I will place them in B tier. And then we have Gothic noble warriors, kind of the heavy cavalry unit, and these two units are kind of complementing each other. So while the Goth Lancers get nice charge bonus, but their normal melee capabilities are rather weak, these on the other hand get only moderate charge bonus, but their melee attack is quite strong and they are heavily armored. And they require tier 5 city and highest tier stables to get, so I don't know. Perhaps you could build these if you manage to capture those highest tier stables, but otherwise I don't really see the need for these. Of course, cavalry is kind of king in Barbarian Invasion, but I think the missile cavalry units are eventually better, and the Gothic infantry usually is strong enough to hold the line. So I don't know. I don't really like these units, and in my campaign play I think I didn't get even one of these units out, which may have to do with the stables I had, but they're relatively expensive. Of course, if you get them and you get them to charge properly and you can kind of forget them into the battle and rely on them handling on themselves, that's really nice, but I don't know. I don't really like, they are not that elite to kind of warrant the high requirements. And then we have Steppe Horde, horsemen kind of horde unit. It's nice, you get them for free. They kind of look the same as the Alan horse archers, but their stats are actually equal, almost equal to those basic horse archers, a bit poorer stats. You cannot train them, but you get them for free as you go to horde mode, and of course horse archers are nice. They have nice missile damage and so on. but because you cannot train them, they get a bit lower place in A tier than these Alan Horse archers. And then we have the final cavalry unit, warlord, kind of general's bodyguard unit, and you get the general. What was a bit surprising for me was that you can get these guys from tier 3 city already, so that's clearly a thing going for them. Of course, they are really expensive, they take 3 turns to make and so on, so I think they have a place in B tier, but if you compare the costs and training times, you could get 3 of these Goth Lancer units out for every warlord unit, so I think these Lancers are a better option there. Of course, unless you are building some kind of a Doomstack army, but perhaps then you would want to go these noble warriors. And then let's move to infantry. First we have Aryan priests. They take a Christian monastery to get them, and that requires city tier 3. And of course they are worthless in a fight. Of course they have that special ability that they buff the morale of friendly units, but based on my testing, that effect is really not that great. You can find the video also on the channel. So I think almost any unit, any combat unit in an army would be worth more than these priests. So D tier for me. And then we have the good old or quality old peasants, especially in Roman campaign or in longer campaigns. I think these most definitely would be in S tier because they can keep up public order quite nicely and so on. But at least in my experience and in my playthrough, the Gothic campaign was not really that long. And the shorter the campaign is, the less you need troops to keep up public order, and thus the less value these units are. And of course, it's nice to kind of quickly raise the public order that you don't have even to pay too much, but I don't really think that in the Goths campaign you need to struggle with the public order too much. So I think I'm going to give these guys C tier for Gothic campaign because, well, they are kind of worthless in the fight, and because you don't really need that public order too much. Then we have, let's see, then we have Gothic spearmen, a rather solid spear unit, well armored, of course. They cannot fight too well against infantry, but I think they are quite good stopping enemy cavalry and of course defending cities in the city square. They can be quite beneficial there as well. So I think I'm going to give them strong B tier. They require, I think it was tier 2 city to build them, so that's actually quite low requirements. Then we have Gothic warriors, and these are solid swordsmen. They can hold their own against comitatenses, for instance, but in one-on-one they will lose to comitatenses. And of course, you can, if you have the numbers, you can overwhelm enemy infantry line and so on. They are quite solid unit. However, they require tier 4 city to recruit. So basically, when you get these Gothic spearmen, you need only tier 2 city. Then you need to upgrade the barracks to tier 3, and you get no new units, and then you need to get to tier 4 to unlock these guys. So if these guys were available in tier 3, I think they could go to A tier or at least strong B tier. But because the requirement is to tier 4 city, I think these guys get only a place in the weak B tier. Of course, if you capture Rome or some other large cities, you may capture the facilities to produce these units right away. So that's kind of eases up the situation a bit, but still, I think upgrading the barracks twice to get these guys is quite a lot. And then we have runaway slave spearmen, kind of militia unit. I think they can do okay in city squares, defending the city, but in open fields, I wouldn't rely on these guys too much. Their morale is not that great, especially compared to the Gothic spearmen and these Gothic warriors. And their stats are not too great either, so I will put these guys to C tier. Of course, if you have capabilities, or rather tier 1 barracks only capabilities to train only these guys, then of course they are better in battle than peasants, and of course they can complement your army, but I would get these guys always in the battle over these guys. Of course, these guys have the was it Siltdome or Silt Wall formation as well, so that really goes for them as well. Then we have another Horde unit, and that's Steppe Horde Chosen Warriors, and of course you cannot get these guys, or kind of recruit these guys in the campaign map. You get them for free. Their stats are slightly better than those of the Gothic warriors, and in multiplayer they cost a bit more, but because of their better fighting capabilities, I think they earn a place in A tier. And then finally we have the one and only missile unit on foot, namely Gothic Riders. You only need tier 2 city to recruit these guys. They are long-range missile units, they have decent enough stats, and I think they are just wonderful archers in the game. So really one of my favorite units for Goths, and they can keep enemy horse archers at bay. If they can hit the enemy flank or back, they can quite easily break enemy infantry and so on. So really one of the best, if not the best, well, perhaps among the best 2 Gothic units in the game. I really like these guys. Easy to get, easy to replenish, and they really pack a punch, especially if you can keep a solid infantry line of, for example, of these guys in front of them to keep them out of harm from enemy cavalry or enemy infantry. They will win the battles quite nicely for you. For example, in defending cities, they are really very efficient in the city square or on the walls or something like that. So really a good unit. So this is my opinion about the Goth unit roster. What do you think? Do you agree or disagree? Feel free to share your ideas and thoughts in the comments below. Thank you very much for watching. If you like the content, please leave a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Quality Old Games